Westport Library is no stranger to innovation. Our friends at the library have been frequent guests of the Municipal Voice for efforts like Verso Fest, and today they are joining us to talk about some of their newer projects. Verso Studios at the Westport Library was a recipient of 4 Telly Awards for the library's Crew Call program that allows for community members to be trained and partake in performance coverage and video production. It took home 3 silvers and 1 bronze in the general student category for the production of library events. David Bibbey joins us today to tell us more. The Municipal Voice is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state-local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the consensus views of CCM or member municipal leaders. David, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So we have you here as representative of the Westport Library, specifically to talk about Verso Studios and the Crew Call program today. But first, before we get into all that, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at the library?
Where do I begin? I first connected with the library doing a corporate video for the library and said, much as most people do when they see the Westport Library, wow, this is a library? And that was with Bill Harmer, our executive director, and the visionary really behind the transformation of the library, which happened in 2019. It was a $21 million transformation project. And his vision was to include beyond books, but as the name implies, Verso, which is the left-hand side of a book, it's like the other page, the reverse side, to incorporate into the library the media content of creation and content creators, and not just storage of books, but have books live in a multitude of ways. And one of those that would live would be stage productions, live events, connection with the community, creating more engagement with the community. And so back to bringing myself to this, having gone and done this corporate video, which was for the AV providers that put in the technology, I left, and within about 2 weeks, I had a phone call to say, could I be DP, Director of Photography, for an event that they were doing, which was a large event. It was with a guy called Mick Davey, a documentary filmmaker, flying in from Istanbul, 600 people in the room, and it was all happening very quickly, and they realized that they needed a little outside help. And that brought me in. We had a crew of professional camera and audio crew, and we pulled it off. We had a great event. However, it was devastating to me that in doing the event, it was an expensive event. Ticket prices were high. There were many tickets that were complimentary tickets also, to engage and include as many people as possible. And that just sort of sat in my head that I just thought, this is a shame. You know, as much as we professionals were, suitably paid, it was just a shame that such good intentions with such great equipment and infrastructure as there is at the library still needed people to come in and run it. And that's really the sort of precursor to Crew Call. So that event happened. That was it. And then another call happened, and I started speaking with Bill. And for a year and a half, I consulted with the library to look at what would be a way of rationalizing what they had, which was full broadcast capability with full audio capabilities. And that really had us revisit, well, we have this cool equipment. What are we going to do with it? How can we do the right thing with it? Deliver upon all of the missions that the library has, and still not lose our shirt on a production. And so I'm now speaking as we. And at that time, several things needed to happen. One was our inviting people to come create and support them by editing and producing their product was a massive overpromise. Understandable, completely understandable, but as you would know, when you produce something, it's the post-production editing that's the logjam. And so what we really wanted to do, and it was always the plan, was to concentrate on live.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to do live production, it's kind of harder at the front end, but you don't have the
Yeah.
time involved after post-production. So although we have capability of post-production, and although we have podcasters enjoying our facility,
Mm-hmm.
what we've moved away from is the post-production promise, and what we promise is live production, shared, streamed, Vimeo, YouTube, Facebook. We can do it all in the moment. The problem with that is you're running a control room, you're running live cameras, you're running a live edit.
Yeah.
And so having the cost of those professionals coming in to support me to do that would be tough. And having cameras out in the forum space, and the forum space, for those who haven't been there, it can accommodate 600 to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
But seated 600 quite easily and comfortably. And we have really big events. And we're now producing, I want to say, not so much in August, but probably 3 or 4 events, one of which is pretty significant, at least, in every week. And so we are cranking it out. And we are, I believe we're doing an incredible job, given what we have and who we have, in our production of content. And I'm delighted with the Telly wins, because it does say something, So what is that? And that is that we created Crew Call. I came up with this idea. I think I was having a shower, and I thought, I know what we can do. But they needed to be people supporting us that were getting something out of it. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be right.
So they're getting training. They're being trained on how to use the equipment, and you're getting people to work these events as they're learning, basically.
Exactly. So I'm very glad you didn't use the V word. Being volunteer. So there's a connotation with volunteer, which is it's acceptable to do your best and do okay. And if you make a mistake, well, it's okay. I'm only a volunteer. And so what I do say in an induction process of people who wish to support the programming and be on Crew Call, that it's really not designed as a volunteer program. We don't need them in reality. Most times we can manage with the way we've set it up. However, we love doing Crew Call. And when they are on my crew and I'm directing and we're running those live cameras, if they don't get it right, I will fire them. It hasn't happened yet. And I obviously say it with a big grin in my face. But the reality is our crew deliver a great product. I am known to cry after an event that they've done so well. It's really rewarding. So Crew Call is all about that symbiotic relationship of having our community engaged, learning, lifelong learning, learning something cool, possibly for career advancement, social engagement with each other. So we have a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun when you're working on a project and the tensions are high, stakes are high. It kind of brings it real world. It's also very supportive of those who are students in the business of media. We often hear from people who are at college doing media studies that they'll say, wow, it took a year before I could touch a camera. For us, we bring people in, and on their very first day, I don't think there's an exception to this, on their very first day, I will have them do something meaningful. And it could be switching. I mean, many people I've got actually switching live cameras under my direction on the first day, and you think, well, how do they do that? But if you break it down into its smallest parts, each of those parts aren't so desperately difficult. It's live, which is a little bit of a, but they know they have me in the background. I can always, it's like they're on training wheels always. I can always jump in, And likewise, Travis Bell, who's our audio producer, we're both, steeped in a lot of experience, and we can jump in, but we haven't had to, touch wood. Generally it works. So that's Crew Call. That's the why. And that's the how. And as for me, I have a very weird backstory. I actually have a very mix of background, but I think it served us well. So my background was corporate asset finance. I ran a business.
So you're not librarian. You didn't go for library science. You're coming from
pretty good for
video world.
So corporate asset finance in the UK. I'm British. And then my American Connecticut-born wife and our 2 kids, we took our business, we sold our business. Actually, we sold a business that we had after that, which was smart home technology. So there's management, financial, smart home technology. Then we left the UK. We took a year out with our kids and we traveled. That's when I picked up a camera. We wanted to record our travels. It was 2008. So I want you to know that was really early days for internet. And at that time, we had an acquaintance who knew a TV company who had done children-centric programming. And she said, you should talk to 2020. And they'd done a show called Super Nanny. It was here in the States as well. Anyway, so I rang them. I didn't know I was ringing what is an interesting industry where people generally don't ring you back. So I was kind of like, they didn't call me back. What's going on? So I rang again and said, listen, are you on or not? Because I'm going to go buy a camera and, I'm told that this might be good for you, So they actually pitched a show. I'd said it was our family gap year. They pitched it to Channel 4 and Channel 4 took it up. And so that's what led us into TV. I won't bore you with the story about how all of that went for another day. But fast forward, now with experience of some training and arriving in the US, my wife and I thought, well, let's pitch TV. That seems pretty easy.
Yeah.
And that put us into the mode of coming up with 4 pilots. One of those pilots was picked up by PBS CPTV Hartford. And that led me into working with CPTV. And I did production of a lot of cultural treasure shows. I did put myself on camera as well as do the edit and the... I shouldn't say do the edit because credit should go to the online team at CPTV, but the edit of it. And then I hosted All Things Connecticut for CPTV back in 2015. And we won an Emmy. And then that led us into corporate video. That took me to the library. And here we are.
So you're used to being in front of the camera, behind the camera, all the above, but also the business end of things.
As well. It's a very weird mix, which has served me well for what we're doing,
Yeah. I'm just, I'm thinking of it, we represent the towns and cities of Connecticut.
Yeah.
What would you say, all these great things that you're doing in Westport, what can other towns look to do that might not have the same kind of budget or, famous people living next door that were willing to show up? Like,
sure.
What's the takeaway for other libraries, and say, as to what they could do?
I feel the opportunity, and Bill is aligned with it as well. Bill Harmer, our executive director, and it was from the very beginning. We wanted to go beyond our walls. So we do masses of productions on stage, and we have this 18-foot LED wall that we produce too, and we share with our community. And yes, what a privilege we have that we have the resource. The resources are spectacular. Yeah. There's no resistance for us in sharing that. We so want that out there. The community of Westport I've found to be incredibly generous. It's how can we get this to be made available to everyone we possibly can? And we have an answer to that. And it's really, again, I'll give you another name throwing, which is Verso TV. So we are absolutely poised, as long as time and resource allows, to share what we do in various forms. We dipped our toe in the water with CLC, the organization in Connecticut that's like an umbrella organization for libraries in Connecticut. And we also went to Chicago to the American Library Association's conference with the banner headline, Verso TV. And we are looking to create that network across the country, not just Connecticut, where we can share what we do as content. And given we're a library, one would like to think we're a trusted platform. Given that the content we create is inspirational, educational, entertaining, all the things that I feel are often lost now in TV content. And I know it's a very crowded field. But the above that I've just mentioned, all of that is available freely from us. And what we are looking to do is create that network. So I would urge you to scream it from the rooftops, because it's tough for us to get that message out, that I would love to hear from, in particular, museums, educational libraries and general libraries in Connecticut to hook up with us so that we can support them to deliver our programs to their patrons. And there's two ways we could do that. One is we can invite them to have like a media live room set up with a TV, where they could perhaps have at least a chat live with us, where they could ask a question following along on a live show. And if that's too much, because I get that even that is sometimes just too much, it's an evening, it's staffing, it's bringing patrons in, then just having us through them, letting them have the links and the ability to either watch live, or their patrons to watch live and participate live if we can do it, which we can, or share with them a library of content that we have that they can watch post-event. And that could be, very shortly after the event, but mostly it's freely available after our events. So somewhere in there is the next step that I'd love to take.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM.
So that is why that's a great question. It's all of the libraries, all of the towns. Maybe there's something I haven't thought of that your membership of towns could come up with, and we'd engage with it and we'd see if it's something we can support. We are a library. I mean, my business brain had to get rewired. Our ROI is serving our community and the communities beyond.
So let's talk a little bit about some more these Telly Award-winning videos you did. One of the ones that interested me that I wanted to talk about first, because it seems to be, tied in with the historic, kind of mission of libraries, is literacy.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that one? Like, who did it and how did that come to be?
Yeah. They were having, or last year actually, they had their gala in our forum space, a fundraising event, like a paddle race fundraising event. So we produced their gala. We provided them.
And what's the organization?
Read to Grow.
Read to Grow is the name of the organization.
Grow. Okay. Correct. Yeah, correct. And they are a wonderful organization. We were delighted to do it. So they were they were looking for a production company to provide them with the opening video. And I said, well, not that we would typically do it, but if you have a budget and we can parlay that into a training exercise with our crew, then, we would be interested in doing that. And so kind of in a hybrid, charged for service from the library got the money, and partly training of our crew, which was limited because it had to be done off-site in a number of instances. So there's a lot of content that was off-site. So it was definitely a bit of a heavy lift for me. But it was something that I felt, even post-production, was great as a training piece of material that we could use. So I will be deconstructing it and showing a broader number of our crew called participants how you put such a thing together. But
so for the organization, they got to hold the event in your space and have the in-house team work on it. And you said they were charged, but was what you charged them, would you say like the going open rate out there, or did they got a deal as well?
Yes.
They got video production at a good.
Totally. Yeah. We threw everything at it, and it was at a reduced rate. I hope they feel that way.
A reduced rate, but on really good equipment, right? Because you guys really kitted out. You didn't.
It's a great question. If I can turn it into a question, I actually said to them, I want you to know before we start, because they have someone who's their marketing person who was engaging us to do this in a professional way. And they were nervous because we're a library. And so they had a certain amount of nervousness that would we be able to do a suitable job? And clearly they were very happy with it. I said, we will, but I want to forewarn you that despite we're charging you something, we will actually be using an iPhone a lot. And there were two reasons for that. One is it's kids. We were doing with consent a lot of videoing of kids. We were also moving really quickly to make it possible for us to get it done. And we used a large prosumer ENG style camera, JVC, with XLR inputs. And, so we had that camera with us. But I have to say, most of the content that you see in that video was shot on an iPhone 16 Pro. And the value of that is, from a training point of view, is the best camera, as you've probably heard this, the best camera you can get is the one that you have. And using the equipment and demonstrating that you can do it with an iPhone was part of my mission. And, it works. And also people aren't intimidated by it. They're used to seeing an iPhone. So although we have great equipment, and we do, one of the things I would say you really can't compromise is audio quality. So a lot of the audio that we captured was being captured both to the iPhone, but with Rode microphones wirelessly into the iPhone. But also, because two is one is none, the backup camera also through the XLR was getting another feed of audio. But again, I would say, in credit to Rode's product, I would say that 80-90% of it was shot and recorded audio was used, was the iPhone. And then it was editing. And there's some very neat things. It was edited in Final Cut Pro. And there are some neat things, especially now, that you can do with Final Cut Pro, eliminating backgrounds. So when there's things that you can't fix in the moment, like soda bottles on a table when we're talking about babies and infancy, and I'm looking at it going, oh, it looks terrible, gone. And it wasn't meant to, it wasn't like it was meant to be there. You know what I mean? It's like setting up the set. We couldn't set up the set quickly, or we could, but only quickly. We didn't have time. You can spend hours for it was meant to be 3 minutes. It ended up at 5. That 3 minute, hour that we shoot for 5 seconds worth of footage, it seems insane. But if you add to that, setting up the scene that we're going to shoot in, and the lighting, we have one light that we took with us to, make sure our foreground was well lit. All of those things brought to that shoot demonstrates what can be done. And it could be better. Of course, it can always be better. But it was great. And, the cost of excellence, we would have fallen over something would have gone wrong. So, of course, it wouldn't be excellent. My experience is sometimes, good is right. I know they say it's the enemy of great, but sometimes good is right. But if you go for excellence, you don't get anything. It can be.
Actually, for people at home, why don't we show it to them right now?
Sure.
So, what's the title of this one?
To tee it up, it's Read to Grow, and it was designed for the opening annual gala that was held in our forum space. And this was the opening video to tell their story and their celebration of, I hope I'm right in saying, 25 years.
Yo te quiero tanto. Bienvenido al mundo.
We started out with the simple idea that every baby born receive a book, because what we know is the impact of reading aloud to your child actually forms their brain.
35,000 newborns are born in Connecticut every single year. 15,000 of those babies are on Husky, the state Medicaid program. We knew we had work to do to expand this reach, to reach all of the babies born in Connecticut. We're 4 hospitals away from universal reach with our newborn project. Our prenatal program is growing. Our NICU project, where we give books to babies who are receiving care in the NICU, that program is growing. And our Books for Kids program continues to give books out to any family with children in Connecticut who request books.
When I was pregnant, I would read anything to my daughter just to get her familiar with the sound of my voice. It's expanded her love for reading.
I thank Read to Grow as a parent and also as an educator, as a preschool teacher here in Bridgeport.
Read to Grow is not only for moms, but it's for dads too.
The sparkle in their eyes when they see all this book, it was like they're in a toy store.
The first book I learned to read was from Read to Grow.
I love going to Read to Grow and picking out books I like.
Read to Grow gave my daughters the experience to see the world through books.
The Bookmobile just celebrated its 2nd birthday in the fall, and it is traveling everywhere across the state and reaching communities and children who may not have had a chance to get a book in the hospital or to attend preschool.
When I found out about Read to Grow and the fact that they have ways for parents and caregivers and families to rally around the children in their lives and help them be literate, help them access literacy in like all these ways, empower them to do so, I think that's what really drew me to being at Read to Grow.
Thank you, Read to Grow. We appreciate you coming out to Growing Seeds, giving us books today.
All of our books are bilingual, so they're English and whatever language that we bring along with us. We have Haitian Creole, Portuguese, Pashto, Dari, Arabic, Spanish, Ukrainian, Italian.
Read to Grow is very important in the community because it bridges the gap from home and school. Read to the children every day. Read, read, read.
Access to literacy, to books, to select books of their choice, based on the cover, based on conversations with other students and their teachers. It's a real social experience, and it encourages a love for literacy, and it helps children grow and expand their schema, their experiences in life. So this is very special, and we're honored to have them here today.
Gracias por venir.
Read to Grow provides books and materials for our prenatal program, and we are so fortunate to have a partnership with them.
We want our moms to read to their bellies, foster that brain development and get those neural circuits branching and laying down the foundation that you need for good neurocognitive development. And it also helps to foster a greater connection between the moms and their fetus. So this is something that we really love to support, and we're grateful for the collaboration.
It's my father's voice in my head. Now I'm hoping it'll be in your head, and that is, we can always do more. And of course, it's always best to do more together. And this is how we got to 25 years. This is how we've gotten to where we are. And this is how we can get to the next level, by all of us together doing more.
Literacy literally changes lives, and Read to Grow is the perfect foundation for this change. The gift that you give truly makes a difference.
Join us now as we write the next chapter of Read to Grow.
Yo te quiero tanto. Bienvenido al mundo.
Okay, so now I know there was 2 other silver medals and a bronze. Who else? What were those other videos? Just briefly.
Andrew Wilk, who I have to give credit for the one that grabbed a hold of me and had me join the library tribe. Andrew Wilk Presents was one. Andrew is still doing a medical series, which is phenomenal. I urge you to go look on our YouTube site. And heart, cancer, brain. So he's taking big topics, bringing in expert doctors and delivering a phenomenal opportunity for these experts to not only deliver a talk on, the procedures, breakthroughs right now in the medical field, but also the opportunity to ask questions. So there's a Q&A at the end of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a phenomenal series.
That's really cool. I previously have had on the show EJ and stuff to talk about Verso Fest, which is rock and roll show, and it's very cool.
Yep.
But you're also doing video about medical research and like important big kind of topics. So that's interesting stuff.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM.
And then the third silver award went to
Keith Richards.
Oh, the Keith Richards video. Yeah.
So that was a little fun. It just shows you who sachets through the library. Bill was really keen. We did a red carpet interview, and he was so right.
I can see why that won then. And then you got a bronze for it was booked Evening with Billie Jean King.
Yeah.
That was another event that happened at the library?
Yeah, so every year we have an event, and it's called Booked for the Evening. And we bring in a celebrity from film, theater, literacy, whatever else there is.
Yeah.
Coming up this year is Sarah Jessica Parker. She's coming in September. Yeah. And we've had in the past Scorsese, Alan Alda, Laura Linney, Itzhak Perlman. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's a very signature night for the library. It's our gala fundraising event night. And there's a whole committee that tackles it. They begin right away after one finishes. They're off and running for the next one. Phenomenal night. It is a high ticket and an event that's designed to be a fundraiser for the library, and it is a big fundraiser.
Is that a large part, I imagine, of the library's efforts, like to these fundraisers allow you to do these programs? Like how much of the budget is through fundraising, and how much of it comes from the town of Westport? I mean,
I'm happy to say I have no idea.
You have no idea, but fundraising is an important part of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Help support these full things.
We are all listening always to what can be, satisfying the mission of Carnegie's library vision. Having that level playing field for people to learn and develop themselves with access not just to books, but with access to media and books. So our Crew Call participants, bringing it back to Crew Call, our Crew Call participants come from all walks of life and all abilities, both physical, mental, and experiential. And that is. I thought I would not enjoy teaching people. It's not something I've done in the past. But
it's something you came to later in life. Yeah.
It would seem much later, but it's very rewarding. And so that I hardly dare use the word diversity, but it's true. That welcoming of diversity and that outreach to make sure people don't have a preconceived idea about Westport or Westport as the library in particular, about who it's for. Again, the generosity of Westport is extraordinary.
Well, I know it's a relatively new program at this point, but has anyone, the younger people I'm mostly talking about here, that have gone through it, then gone on or decided that they wanted to go into this professionally? Has it inspired?
Yes. Yep. We've had someone that wanted to get more experience behind the camera. They were a news reporter. In fact, they worked on the Read to Grow with me. They were a news reporter, had a Washington press pass, and were working in Washington on camera. And they wanted to really get more hands-on experience and have a resume built using, behind the camera. And they did that, and they've worked on History Channel now and multiple other programs. I can't lay full claim to that as the reason why. I don't want a flood of people thinking if they work with us, it's a crowded field and it's very hard to get in. It's like a network, and difficult to be jumping into a team that might have been around for 20 years. But she did it, and then there are others who are at college who have honed their skills, and in audio especially as well. Travis Bell works. It's not critical, but he works community access and has people come in and work with him and learn. And again, commonly he'll hear, I haven't even got my hands on a mixing desk yet. And I've been there a year, and here we are. Here I am working on an SSL desk. So there's all that part. Crew Call obviously is live production, but there's all of the community accessing the training. And then, so going back to your question, so students who are in college, students who are going to college, and in that one case, someone that specifically wanted to hone their skills. And then there are others that aren't necessarily professional, but they do their house of worship. And they want to be better at doing that, And
they discovered that they had a love for video.
Yeah. And, there are others that are personally want to develop their skills as content creators. And although that's kind of different, it's also kind of the same. If I'm saying to someone like on screen right now, me on your screen, if I move over here, but I'm speaking that way, it doesn't work. If I'm speaking that way where there's space in front of me, that works. And not everyone gets that distinction until they see it and have someone train them. And there are a lot of creators, content creators, they've never had any training at all. And simply, not being down here.
The
framing the shot.
The basics haven't changed that much with these changing mediums.
So live, we're all the time framing live that shot. If we've got two people speaking, we want space where they're speaking to. We're framing up the shot. We're constantly adjusting our robotic cameras. That, by the way, pre-COVID, it wasn't like I had special insight, but pre-COVID, one of the things that I begged for, and we actually got it donated, was a set of robotic cameras. They were donated to us. And that allowed us, unlike the previous use, which was cameras that were prosumer ENG style cameras, not really suited to be live in a room. That gave us a control room control of those robotic cameras. So if we have 5 people coming in, I can split them up between people to have them be operators of those cameras. And if we have no one coming in, we don't need them. That was the beauty of that. And there's no cost, and they don't take dinner breaks. So
great talking to you, and congratulations on the Telly Awards. And just in kind of last question, what sort of events do you have coming up that you're excited about, and what do you look forward to in the future at Crew Call?
So thank you for having me. And I really, really urge your membership to reach out and give me their ideas about how we can network, literally create that network, build out from what we're already doing. So I'd love that. So that's in the future. Verso TV, and that is in the future. We do have a space in the upstairs that we've just decked out. It was topped up by a donation that had it be able to be finished off with a rail curtaining. We are using that. Initially, we'll invite local businesses where we will charge a fair but reduced rate fee, allowing our crew to be trained in doing commercial type shoots. And that could be 1 on camera, 3 on camera, interview style, small fee, very turnkey. We were calling it Flash Studio. It's now called Studio 214. So I'm super excited about that space being an ability for us to shoot. We'll probably use a webinar style shoot. So we capture it live. However, we will also have the ability to do some post-production in a very careful step back into post-production, where crew do the post-production work, and we have that as a constant. So that will be effectively the development of a TV station, and that will be an like a broadening of our Crew Call program, where we will have Crew Call working on our TV station work. And those businesses may get rewarded by being part of an advertising opportunity. But I don't know if I can be in the room.
When you say you have a TV station, what does that mean in 2025? Can I turn on my television and turn it to channel 3 and it's going to come in over the wireless, or
it's a really interesting question. I know. So I've really, really worked on that because, and as I've worked on it, so it's shifted. And, you've got OTT services. I've met with Vimeo's CEO to have that very conversation. So that's a TBD as to how that would look. Whether we are merely having something that's on a showcase, like a Vimeo showcase, where you can tap into it when you want, and you can watch a series of videos, like the medical series being available as a series. We kind of already have that on our YouTube. We have playlists. So what would be the difference? I'm really not sure. I've got ideas and I've got requests of people. And we actually have a product, which is Cablecast, which a lot of the public access companies use, organizations. And Cablecast allows you to schedule live programming or virtually live. So you produce it and then you put out a schedule of live. But what is the point of live if you can't ask a question of someone because they're not really there? So maybe a hybrid is what I'm thinking. So maybe we have something captured live, and then you have the opportunity for the Q&A part of it at another time. You know, we restart the Q&A and we allow for questions to be put to the presenter, but it's at a later date, but we've already captured the presentation part of it. So all of those things are in the mix. Any ideas you might have, I'm happy to hear them, truly. Because
maybe we'll have to talk after the interview here.
It's a lot. And townwide, if we have a meaningful audience, you know, but you can go on and on and on. And I'm thinking, gosh, you know, old people in homes that would love to have interactivity, or, you know, there's so many things that we could, plenty of ideas, and ideas are very plentiful if you put out to the world. Managing them and the critical path to get there, that's a whole nother ball of wax. And so
but if someone wanted to, is there opportunity for the public to have input into these ideas? Like, are there meetings and things they could participate in?
No, not in those ideas. We have Verso Fest has a advisory board, and it's not that I wouldn't welcome ideas if someone has something rather than an idea of how we should do it, because I think we've got lots of platforms and knowledge there. It's more, you have an entity, you would love to participate in a live program, talk to me, because that's fairly straightforward for us to provide a link and give you, if it's something appropriate, a channel through which you could engage with Q&A or, you know, or webinars. You know, I think probably the start point will probably be webinar, and having that be our live element. But I'm really not sure. I think the input I would welcome wouldn't be ideas about how to do it. There's plenty of people with opportunities to listen to about how we should be doing what we're doing better. And obviously you have to be welcome to that. We're you know, pseudo public. But the ideas I'm more interested in is we have a partnership opportunity or proposal, whether that's financial or logistical, both would be really cool to engage with.
But David, thanks for coming on the show and talking with us about Verso Studios.
Thank you so much.
And Crew Call, it sounds like a great program.
Come and do it.
Maybe
You'll be welcome. Let's see him here, folks.
The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Joe Thornton is our executive producer. Christopher Gilson is our producer. Harry Draws on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. CCM's communications interns are Caitlin Higgins and Zachary Hallis. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like, and watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.